let's use that analogy and let's make it more comparable to today and see how you feel about this scenario. President Obama, on an open mic, says to Medvedev, "Hey, Medvedev, I know you don't want me to send this military money to Ukraine because they're fighting and killing your people. I want you to do me a favor, though. I want you to do an investigation of Mitt Romney. And I want you to announce you found dirt on Mitt Romney. And if you're willing to do that, quid pro quo, I won't give Ukraine the money they need to fight you on the front line." Do any of us have any question that Barack Obama would be impeached for that kind of misconduct? Are we really ready to say that that would be okay if Barack Obama asked Medvedev to investigate his opponent and would withhold money from an ally that it needed to defend itself to get an investigation of Mitt Romney? That's the parallel here. And to say, well, yes, we condition aid all the time for legitimate reasons, yes. For legitimate reasons, you might say to a governor of a state, hey, governor of a state, you should chip in more towards your own disaster relief. But if the president's real motive in depriving a state of disaster relief is because that governor won't get his attorney general to investigate the president's political rival, are we ready to say that the president can sacrifice the interests of the people of that state, or in the case of Medvedev, the people of our country, because all quid pro quos are fine, it's carte blanche? Is that really what we're prepared to say with respect to this president's conduct or the next? Because if we are, then the next president of the United States can ask for an investigation of you. They can ask for help in their next election from any foreign power. And the argument will be made, nope, Donald Trump was acquitted for doing exactly the same thing. Therefore, it must not be impeachable. Now, bear in mind that efforts to cheat an election are always going to be in proximity to an election. And if you say you can't hold a president accountable in an election year where they're trying to cheat in that election, then you are giving them carte blanche. So all quid pros are not the same. Some are legitimate and some are corrupt, and you don't need to be a mind reader to figure out which is which. For one thing, you can ask John Bolton.
I imagine the trial should come to a swift close in favor of convicting Trump now that Adam Schiff has finally put the president's criminal behavior into the only terms that Republicans are capable of understanding. And that is that since everything was bad only if Barack Obama did it, Schiff replaces Trump asking Zelensky for dirt on Biden with Obama asking Medvedev for dirt on Romney prior to the 2012 election. I'm surprised McConnell didn't stand up right then and there to demand Obama get impeached just for the analogy. Now, Schiff's argument was born out of this defense by Trump's lawyer, Alan Dershowitz, that all quid pro quos are perfectly fine.
Every public official that I know believes that his election is in the public interest. And mostly you're right. Your election is in the public interest. And if a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment. If a hypothetical president of the United States said to a hypothetical leader of a foreign country, unless you build a hotel with my name on it, and unless you give me $1 million kickback, I will withhold the funds. That's an easy case. That's purely corrupt and in the purely private interest. But a complex middle case is, I want to be elected. I think I'm a great president. I think I'm the greatest president there ever was. And if I'm not elected, the national interest will suffer greatly. That cannot be an impeachable offense. Thank you, Mr. Chief Justice.
In other words, Dershowitz is trying to argue here that quid pro quos committed for re-election are perfectly legal. He's basically saying that as long as a president claims that his re-election is, quote, in the public interest, which Trump, the eternal narcissist, clearly does, then he has carte blanche to do anything he wants en route to achieving that end. He can withhold any aid, leverage any favors, and always simply argue that he needs to do so because it'll help him get reelected and it'll help the American public to have him as president. Now, to be clear, that argument is asinine. It is the exemplification of lawlessness, but it shows just how low these Trump stooges are willing to go to defend him. That because they can't defend him on the merits, because they can't defend him on the law, they've resorted to arguing that the law simply doesn't apply to him, that he can do whatever he wants. Now, to be sure, he can't. At least he's not supposed to be, but Republicans are so blinded by their fealty to Trump that they've truly convinced themselves that he hasn't done anything wrong by extorting a foreign country for help in the next election and then orchestrating a cover-up to hide all evidence of what happened. But because they are partisan hacks, when you put it in terms of a Democrat acting improperly, then suddenly their threshold for criminal behavior goes way, way down. When it's a Democrat, suddenly Republicans become strict constitutionalists who argue that not only is the president not above the law, but that he can be impeached for anything really if it gives the impression that the office is being disrespected.
So the point I'm trying to make is you don't even have to be convicted of a crime to lose your job in this constitutional republic. If this body determines that your conduct as a public official is clearly out of bounds in your role, because impeachment is not about punishment. Impeachment is about cleansing the office. Impeachment is about restoring honor and integrity to the office.
I'll bet Lindsey Graham in 1999 would have some harsh words for Lindsey Graham in 2020. But the fact that Adam Schiff, masterfully I might add, was able to present Trump's crimes in terms of a hypothetical from Obama is a testament to the extent to which these Republican senators are irreparably marred by partisanship. Because let's be honest, of course they'd vote to impeach Obama if he'd done the same thing. There's no question. They thought Obama was unfit for office because one time he wore a tan suit. They turned the mustard he ate into a national scandal. They melted down because he saluted to a Marine while holding a cup of coffee. So to think that if that guy had called up the Russians and said, "Give me dirt on Romney and I'll withhold aid from the Ukrainians to help you guys out," that the GOP's blood vessels in their eyes wouldn't have collectively exploded? To think that Lindsey Graham wouldn't have stood up on the rooftop of the Capitol to grandstand about the sanctimony of the office of the presidency? To think that Ted Cruz wouldn't have tried to march into the Oval Office with a pair of handcuffs? You would be kidding yourself. And so clearly, the point here is that these Republican senators should at least try to put their partisanship aside and defend the Constitution over the guy at the top of their ticket. Because everyone knows, including themselves, that if the shoe is on the other foot, it wouldn't be so damn difficult to find a shred of integrity.